Joe was hooked. He taught himself how to perform magic tricks. Then he bought a Frito-Lay delivery truck, filled it with a bunch of animals from a zoo, and started touring the country. As his shows got bigger and bigger, he upgraded to an 18-wheeler and bought a bunch of fancy Vegas-style illusions.
You this morning.
Well,
now tell us who you are and who you have with us.
Well, my real name is Joe Schreiber. I go by Joe Exotic because nobody ever knows how to say Schreiber. And
Ricky, right?
this is little Ricky.
Joe and his crew would tour shopping malls, flea markets, and convention centers all over the country. Right there in the mall, between the sunglasses stands and phone case kiosks, Joe set up large cages with fake grass. Inside, people could hold a tiger cub in their laps for $25. It was a hit. A long weekend at a mall could pull in thousands of dollars. Joe's biggest year yet was 2009. Joe was winning new fans all across the country. But he was also making a new enemy.
This video shows cubs being displayed in a mall by one of Joe Schreivogel's entities.
Carole, really, okay? You follow me around the country, harassing me because I take animals out into the public, and you did the same thing. Chicken shit?
And he took every opportunity to call her out in public.
Good morning, Carole.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thanks.
One morning, Carole was on a Tampa radio show taking listeners' questions.
Hi, you're on Talking Animals with Carole Baskin?
I got one question for Carole. How can you say that you've been rescuing animals since 1992 when you were buying and selling the exact bobcats that you just claimed you rescued?
Before Carole answers, can I just ask, is this Joe?
Yes.
Now, Joe's got his facts wrong, and he always does. To give you a little bit of background on Joe, all you got to do is go to tigercubabuse.com. But there you will see videos of him smacking his tiny little tiger with a whip.
So, yeah, I guess you and Joe probably aren't exchanging Christmas cards this year or any other year.
For the past year, Susan Bass had been tracking Joe's mall tour. It hadn't been easy. He was slippery.
At one point, we actually hired a man to follow Joe's truck from city to the next city. And, we came up with really creative ways to try to figure out where he was going next.
She used a fake profile to keep tabs on his Facebook page. Sometimes mall managers looking to rebook Joe's cub petting tour would call Big Cat Rescue by mistake, and she would talk them out of it. Whenever she located Joe's next shopping mall, she would send out an alert to all of Big Cat Rescue's followers online, asking them to voice their concern.
The emails would go directly to the people at the mall, the people at the JCPenney's, for example, and they could easily get 100, 500, 1,000 emails within a day from people saying, I love big cats. I don't want them seen exploited in shopping malls. And sometimes people at the malls, they would call me and they would be like, you've crashed my system. I agree. We'll never have cubs again. Stop. Just stop.
When Howard Baskin hired Susan, he had set a clear goal. He calculated that in order to make it worth the time and effort, they had to convince a dozen shopping malls to cancel on Joe.
There was one mall conglomerate, I believe they owned over 70 malls. So when they basically signed on with us, that was a huge win. And we thought, wow, we're like over 100 malls in 1 year. So we did far exceed whatever goals Howard had set.
Then, towards the end of 2011, Susan got a message from a young woman in Michigan who had learned that a mall in Grand Rapids was planning to host Joe's roadshow. Susan booked a flight to Michigan. She wanted to attend the protest herself and to finally see the man she'd been hunting for the past year. She packed her bags and headed to the airport. And she was just getting ready to board her flight when she got a call from a reporter in Michigan.
He said, I just reached out to the mall again and they told me that they've kicked him out. They've made him leave. And it was like the highlight of my whole year.
It was a huge win, one that would cost Joe a lot of money. Susan turned around and went back to the sanctuary.
That was the last mall that he ever went to.
That night, she went out for dinner with Carole and Howard. And over glasses of champagne, they toasted their victory.
It was just such a celebratory moment in our lives because we felt like we finally rounded the corner on this whole mall cub petting thing. And it was just, we thought that that was going to be the end of it.
Tiger cubs or lion cubs or someone petting.
They're people of that like mind, and they know not to let it get out to the public or to the press that these animals are in their backyards, because people just, they look at that and they hate it when they see these tiny barren cages with these magnificent animals suffering in them.
When I started about 9 years ago, and I was hired specifically to find out, who's breeding these tigers, where are they at, the cubs, and stop them from being exploited, specifically shopping malls. There were several people that were traveling around, and the cubs would arrive at, let's say a small town, generally a small, mall that's not doing well, so they were doing it to make some business. And the articles would come out in that little town about how great it was that there's tiger cubs to pet, and oh my gosh, run to the mall in the next few days. And now we find none of that. If there are articles about, as Carole was saying, tiger cubs or lion cubs, or someone petting, or even a celebrity that's been petting a cub, they are immediately drawn out as, oh, why did you do that? A recent example comes to mind is a brand new rookie football player for one of the NFL teams. He actually posed for an ad in his underwear. It was an ad for the underwear, commercial, and had a tiger next to him and like a fancy car, as though,
because those things all go together.
Right. You can be cool by wearing this underwear. Oh, and maybe like have a tiger next to you. And I called the owner of the underwear company and explained to him that it's not cool. It's actually cruel to pose with a tiger. And he agreed to never again use any wild animals in any of his advertising going forward. We've had a number of successes in that. Everything from Citibank to Porsche North America has agreed to never use wild animals again. And that's really, a lot of it is the doing from Big Cat Rescue, because Carole and Howard and the Sanctuary, they devoted resources and money to actually hire somebody like me to explain to companies and educators and mall owners why they do not want to be seen as, exploiting these cats that are endangered. And tiger cubs or lion cubs or someone petting.
They're people of that like mind, and they know not to let it get out to the public or to the press that these animals are in their backyards, because people just, they look at that and they hate it when they see these tiny barren cages with these magnificent animals suffering in them.